Welcome to the Mitten Mysteries podcast, hosted by Haley V.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Mitten Mysteries podcast. I am your host, Haley V. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new here, we like to talk about all things creepy, strange, and unusual. Basically anything weird that happens here in the Mitten State, we're going to cover it. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening from today, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you're listening. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you never miss a new episode. You can follow us over on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Mitten Mysteries. Also, if you do enjoy this podcast today, please give us a 5-star rating. It really does help us out. And send this to a friend who you think would enjoy listening and learning about all the things we talk about here today. If you are excited to hear about all the creepy, strange, and unusual things here in the Mitten State, just keep on listening. So, with spooky season already here and fast approaching for other people, here in the V family house, August 1st starts spooky season / fall. Technically, we just skip right to Halloween. We put up Halloween decorations August 1st. We don't even really put up the fall ones. But I thought it would be really cool to share some real-life ghost stories with you guys from this really cool page I found online. It's called yourghoststories.com. I love to listen to other people's creepy stories and ghost stories, like when I'm cleaning, working around the house, doing whatever, like when I'm alone and the kids are in bed or at school. So I thought it would be a cool idea to share with you today some of the stories that I've come across. So I thought it would be a fun idea to tell other people's ghost stories and their experiences with you guys. So the first story comes from Lady Monticello. The date is October 25th, 2020. My son and his beautiful wife were looking for their first home. He wanted as much acreage as he could get. So we found this home that sits so far off the road that you cannot even see it. The owner had passed away and this house sat vacant for at least 10 years. It was at the right price, so we were excited and happy for it. When it was still for sale, my daughter-in-law and I made the trip out there alone to walk around the property and peer into the windows. We were peering in the windows and we realized the sliding door was not locked. I opened the door and yelled in, "Hello?" We stepped in and looked around a bit, but the house was big. We got scared and went back outside to look around. We were walking back on the property. The grass started to get tall as we decided to go back. We turned around and we both saw a tall man standing in the driveway looking right at us, but he faded away very quickly, like 1, 2, 3, gone. I asked, "Did you see that?" She said, "The man in the driveway?" And I said, "Yes." We both decided it was the sunlight playing tricks on our eyes. We walked back up to the house and opened the sliding door again. My daughter-in-law yelled in, "Hello?" But this time, the hello echoed back at us. Neither one of us wanted to step into that house, and so we left. They went ahead and bought the big house with the land my son wanted so badly. Right away, we started cleaning. The house had been a duplex, and they turned it back into a single-family home. It was so full of dirt, they didn't move in right away. One night, everyone was at work, and I was at their home painting alone. I started to hear noises in the basement. I went outside to my car, which was parked in the pitch black. I got in my car and saw that the light in the other side of the house had gone on. I decided not to investigate and left. I often go there to help. On one trip, I was mowing down near the road, and I met the neighbor. I told her some of the stuff we found strange about my son's new home, and this lady tells me to check out the front step. She says, "Flip that white marble step up. It's a tombstone." I did not believe her, so when I finished mowing down by the road, I headed right back up to the house. I looked at the white marble step. Aw, is she trying to spook me? It looked like a step to me. We had been using it as such, so I pushed on it. I could not even budge it. My son came out and asked me what I was doing. I told my son what the neighbor had said. My son is big and strong. He pulled that heavy white marble step up, and it was a tombstone of a military veteran. It no longer looked like a step at all. It had the name, date, and everything on it. Why was it being used as a step? And is this the man we saw in the driveway? The name on the tombstone is not the name of the previous owner. The tombstone is much, much older, from World War I. We have not been able to find out anything so far. We still have the tombstone there on the front porch. We will probably put it someplace on the property. The house began to feel like their home, so I'm hoping that the entity we saw in the driveway was saying goodbye. My son has a big German Shepherd, and he feels safe and comfortable in the home. My beautiful daughter-in-law wants to move already. I don't know if this is a bad sign, but there were snakes everywhere in the yard around the house. One snake slithered right onto my foot, and I'm very afraid of snakes. I looked down and saw the snake in my open shoe. I screamed so loud it sounded like somebody else was screaming to me, and I ran. The snakes are mostly gone now, but I still wear boots now when I visit. The next story is by a person named Jackton. The date is May 2nd, 2020. When I was young, I lived in Michigan, where our home was out in the country. The area was cornfields and trees. We had a big family, and we got together all of the time. One of our favorite games was called Wolf Wolf. It was played at night. One person would be the wolf, and they would go out into the dark and hide. The rest would wait for that person to call Wolf Wolf, and they would head out to find the wolf. Once the wolf was found, we would holler wolf and race to the goal. Anyone caught would be wolf, and it would keep going that way until there was one person left. One night, my friends were over from around the block, and we decided to play Wolf Wolf. There were about 6 of us playing. I was the start wolf, so I went out to hide. It was around 2 a.m. My friends came to find me, but when they did not run, so I was wondering what was up. They asked me who the kid was over by the tree. I thought that they were playing a game on me and was trying to scare me, but they kept asking, so I asked where, and they proceeded to lead me to the spot. Right in front of my grandmother's house, there was a cedar tree that was bare of branches, 6 to 7 feet off the ground. Sitting at the base of the tree was another kid about our age. He had his back against the tree and his arms and legs like he was sitting in the fetal position. He had his head down. So I said to him, "Hey, who are you, and what are you doing?" He did not answer or look towards us. My friends would not get near him, so I said it again with no answer again. I walked towards him and got to about 5 feet from him. Then he looked up at me with big red eyes. I started walking backwards away from him and turned. My friends already bolted back to my house. I then ran after, making sure I was not followed. It was the scariest thing I have ever seen in my life. My friends were crying when I caught up to them and still had to walk them 2 miles home. I begged my father to take them, but he would not because he had to get up for work the next day. So I decided that I would walk them home. Keep in mind that this is in Michigan and most of the way was wooded area. When we got them back home, I said goodnight and had to walk back all by myself at 3 a.m. The whole way home, all I could hear was something walking right behind me. The fear that was washed over me was really crazy bad. It took everything out of me not to bolt and run home in terror. I did not, though. I did not want it to think that I was afraid. I made it home just fine, but since then, I have always been aware of the things in the night. Even now that I am older, it is still very hard for me to go out into the night alone. The next story is by Lady Monticello. The date is October 19th, 2020. Many years ago, I was separated from my husband and living alone in a remote Michigan country home. This weekend, our children were staying at his home with him. I had worked a long international 3-day trip and had commuted home from Chicago O'Hare. It was late when I arrived home, tired. I took my luggage in, dropping it by the front door. I grabbed a snack and answered a call from a relative. Then I headed straight to the bathroom and drew a hot bubble bath. I shut the shades before getting into the tub, even though there is nothing but woods behind my home for 3 miles. I was relaxing in the hot water when I was jolted alert by a hard banging on my front door. The outside screen door was metal, and the noise it made was very loud. It traveled down the halls and through the closed bathroom door. It continued with an urgency, bang, bang, bang in the threes. The loud knocking went. I grabbed a towel and feeling annoyed at the rude loud knocking, I thought to myself, only my mother would knock so loudly, and she's probably not alone, so I better get dressed. I quickly put on my uniform. I went to the front door, and as I turned the corner, the knocking stopped suddenly. As I reached for the door handle to throw the door open, the hair on my neck went up. I felt a cold chill go over me and suddenly a feeling of doom. I pulled my hand away from the door handle and got up to the door shade to peer out into the night. I expected to see my mother, but the porch was empty. I turned on the light and looked out my driveway, and it was also empty. I picked up my phone and called my mother as I peered from the entranceway out into the night. I told my mother what had happened as I stood there looking out into the night. As we spoke, behind me, I heard the sound of my hall closet door handle turning ever so slowly, and I turned to see it swing open. I screamed so loud that my mother yelled, "Is someone killing you?" I said, "No, the closet door just opened on its own." She told me to go look inside. My legs did not want to move. I was about 8 feet from that closet. I was finally able to look in. It was full of coats and no such room for a real person to be in there. My heart was racing. I was now fearful, and so I called my neighbor to shine his lights on in my house. He drove down, took him a long 15 minutes. My mother stayed on the phone with me until he arrived. I did not investigate. I grabbed my suitcase still by the door while my neighbor, who lived 2 miles away, was in my driveway. I got in my Tahoe and left. Whatever it was that night felt evil. This next story is called The Lady in the White Gown. This is by a person named Jade. The date is September 26, 2017. When I was 15 or 16, my mom and stepfather got a divorce. We moved into our new house after all the creepy things that had happened with the past 2 houses. 7 years passed and everything has been wonderful. Up until the night I woke up to a lady in a gorgeous white gown with hazel eyes, brown hair, and skin as white as snow. She was beautiful, but when I woke up, I saw her standing in my doorway. I was absolutely frightened by what I was seeing. I tried to scream and cry for my mom, but it wouldn't come out. I was froze as a statue and beyond scared. She noticed how scared I was and she started walking towards my bed. I asked her not to harm me, and she sat on my bed. She touched my hand and said, "Do not be frightened, child. I won't harm you. I'm here to watch over you." I looked at her amazed and asked, "What is your name?" And she replied, "Layla." I asked her why she was watching over me, and she said she had seen what I was going through with all the bad energy and spirits in the past 2 houses, and she wanted to be there to make sure I wouldn't get harmed. I thanked her for being here and watching over me and my family. A few nights after, I go to my room upstairs and she says, "I have something for you." I asked what it was. And she sat me down and walked into my sister's room and says, "I thought you would like to see your grandfather." I cried silently, but harder than you can imagine. She told me to lay down and rest after a hard day of school. That night, I felt the touch of a warm hand. I knew it was my grandfather because no matter what, dead or alive, he has always had a warm touch to him. The gentle touch and warmth of his hands was kind of frightening, but also so comforting. After a few weeks, they both said goodbye, and they will one day be back again. That's the story of the night I saw the lady in the white gown, along with the visit of my dead grandfather. The next story is by just another person. The title is Hiding Behind Innocence. The date is September 13th, 2017. It had been several months since the last time I have posted an encounter on this website. One would view it as a good thing if it had been a while, and I do until now. I believe my last post took place when I was either 17 or 18. I would like to say that I had since graduated from high school, turned 19, and moved into an apartment in Traverse City, Michigan. During that time, everything was calm and quiet. I settled into my apartment and even got hired to work at a local Family Dollar just down the road. In my previous post, I have always said that the spirit encounters are only occurring at my father's house. So, I had to learn to live with all the spirits that like to make themselves known. And eventually, all of their actions were like normal background noises to me. During the month, I was packing my boxes to move into my apartment. Everything was quiet, no spirits. I have been working in my new job for exactly 3 months now. September 13th, 2017 marked the 3rd, and this week has been giving me chills. I usually work evening shifts, and I walk to work since it's the only short mile down the road. As I was crossing through the grass to get to the sidewalk, I hear the grass shifting quickly as if someone is running up behind me, and of course I go into instant fight or flight mode and spin around, but no one is there. So, that kind of set the spooky mood for the evening. After my shift, I help close the store at night with my manager, so it's usually dark by the time I get done. But yesterday night, after I locked the doors and ran through to make sure no one else was in there besides me and my manager, I was running the dust mop along the aisles and I suddenly heard a little girl's voice right next to me. I was zoning out of my own skin. I looked like a loon just spinning around trying to find the source of the noise. At first, I thought it might have been just the radio because it was still on. But we only listened to one station of country music. Even though I hate it, the DJ literally has the same songs on repeat every single day, so I know all of them, unfortunately. So, with that said, not one song on the radio had a little girl's voice. Honestly, I have no idea what the voice said. It was spoken so quickly and quietly, but it almost sounded like a question. After I was done sweeping, I took the trash out and started to unpack a couple boxes of the store merchandise while I waited for my manager to get done so we could leave for the night. I was hanging some harvest decorations on some hooks in the seasonal aisle, but I needed to stand on my toes because it was up a little higher than I could reach. I felt a rush of air pass by me, and then suddenly, something pressed itself against my back. Obviously, I quickly moved away because it was the natural response to the unwanted actions. By this point, my guard was at its height, so I was constantly looking around, just wanting this damn spirit to just show itself already. Well, I kind of got my wish, but not directly. I kept seeing this tall, completely black silhouette out of the corner of my eye, but every time I turned to look at it, it would run behind something or fade so I couldn't see it. I never told my manager what happened. Maybe because this encounter might be the only one, but I just want to know what this spirit is, and once again, why do they always target me? I mean, it started out as a little girl's voice, but then a few minutes later, the silhouette and physical contact changed. What was it? Well, that is all for the stories that I have for you today. If you guys do enjoy these types of podcasts, please make sure to give us a 5-star rating over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen to. I greatly would appreciate it. Also, if you do have any spooky, scary, unusual stories that you would like me to read, just go ahead and send an email to the mittenmysteries@gmail.com, and I would love to share your story with our listeners. Be sure to follow us over on YouTube at The Mitten Mysteries and also over on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. If you are interested, you could also DM me over on Instagram at The Mitten Mysteries and tell me all of your scary, spooky, and unusual stories. I would love to share them with our viewers and our listeners. I love everything creepy, weird, strange, unusual, so if you have any of those experiences, I would love to chat about them with you. Spooky season is here in the B family household, so all topics that are creepy, weird, or strange is not really creepy, weird, or strange here. So you guys are more than welcome to recommend me any topic you have or any ideas you have. Let me know down below what you guys would love to listen to, and I will go ahead and put that out for you. I hope you guys have a great week ahead, and we will see you guys back here next week. Stay spooky, y'all.